as we start on this new journey, is a good continue to test. I just talking. I have two main goals for this for today.
Yeah.
One is to finish in less than 2 hours, and two is to find out someone I didn't know before. So that we have been friends for 20 plus years. So I found out a lot. I think you have found out a lot. It'll be interesting to know, find out something that I was not aware of before. So that's two goals that I have. And the first one, of course, I know I like to talk.
You know I like to talk. No, funny you should say that. I am in fact excited about this opportunity. But I was blaming it on the technology and that it's now easy to place on record your conversations or what you're saying, because I always regarded myself as talking a lot, or communication to me has been fundamental to our relationship. But now it could be placed on record and I could listen to myself, or I could review what I've said. I find that exciting. A little bit nervous too, but I'm looking forward to it. So, and I like the goals you set yourself to find out something that you didn't know. So as we go along, I'll see how I could support you.
You've done a good job so far in the last 36 years. So
Okay.
I have confidence in that.
Thanks.
With that said, welcome everyone to the first episode of Conversations with My Father. This young man here is Byron, and he is the father, if you was wondering. I am Shane, his son, last of 5. And we decided to do this partly for fun, and like we said, just to discover new things about each other and let people hear what the conversations are like. Conversations we have now are similar to the ones we have every day. We always thought that they were interesting. I always thought they were interesting. To him, might be normal because historically that's part of his job, kind of to have conversations with people and figure out different ways to do better. And then he kind of brought that into our relationship. And it's been fun. It's been fun to have a dad that is open and understanding, but at the same time giving a different perspective of how to do things, what to do, what not to do. Which you could say is parenting in general, but his perspective has always been fun to hear, been interesting to hear. Yeah. Coffee. How long has coffee been a part of your life?
The beverage coffee?
Yep. Not the woman.
Coffee, I think I would have been introduced to it during my student days. There was this folklore that if you drank coffee, it allowed you to stay up late, and it allowed you to go beyond your normal endurance or your normal waking hours. So whenever you're studying for exams or revision, I think mainly it had an academic bias. It wasn't like to go partying or anything, but whenever you needed to go to bed and get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to study and so on. I think that would have been the early beginnings, as I remember. And I never kept score to see its effectiveness, but it became a habit. As I say, it was part of the culture, part of the folklore. Yeah. And it eventually evolved into, I would say, a habit where you, even when you didn't need to be awake, it became a beverage. And so at work or in the office or in a meeting, you would have a cup of coffee. Right. It became a manly thing, a sophisticated kind of thing to do. But now I think it's on its deathbed, because water now seems to be the most sophisticated beverage, and most executives and most leaders seem to have
sparkling water now.
Yes, rather than coffee.
I asked because I recently started drinking, like in the last year and a half. It was like my first experience with coffee. And for the same reason, so I teach PE, and after 5-6 classes, it's like, no, I have no more energy.
Yeah.
And I work with people that drink coffee all the time, like in the office.
Yes.
And I was wondering, like, why? I just assumed that that's their culture because they're from different countries.
Yes.
I was like, all right, they just drink that because. And I had it for the first time, like I said, like maybe 2 years ago. And I was able to, like, go through the day not feeling tired at all. And at the end of the day, still be good.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, now I see why people just drink this.
Okay.
And, yeah,
So you're getting results? You're getting,
yeah, again, results. Yeah,
okay.
sure. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. But I'm sure there's a cultural element to it. I know I've read where in England the growth of coffee shops and so on is largely as a result of people in that community getting together, taking breaks from the office, and they would all meet at a coffee shop and so on. And I think organizations or enterprises like Starbucks and some of these larger companies are testimony to how cultural coffee drinking has become, where large groups of people regularly and consistently drink coffee. But if it's also working for you beyond the cultural habit, and then I say you're a winner. So keep doing it.
Once a day. 1 cup a day.
Yeah, that doesn't sound addictive. That sounds just like a practice, not. Yeah.
It was either that or Red Bull, and I heard that Red Bull not good for you. So
Yeah, I think
slow down on that.
the evidence on those energy drinks, the negative effects the evidence is fairly conclusive.
Yeah.
So I don't think you wanna get in that argument. Yeah.
So we had some ideas of what we wanted to talk about, some topics, and so we can start there and see what happens.
Sure.
Yeah. Don't know how deep we'll get. Hopefully not too deep. I don't have
Yeah.
too much emotional space. I try to
Okay.
keep that box as small as possible to refrain from tears and stuff.
Okay.
You feel me?
Okay.
Yeah. So we can start off. I would say it's the elephant in the room, but you already read the list. So
Yeah.
we know recently you had a stroke, maybe a month, 2 months ago.
Yes.
I just want to talk about how that maybe affected you and how it affected me, and then kind of like what was the outcome of it or what we had learned from it. So that was kind of interesting to me. It was the first time for me that I was like second, like I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't know if to go left or right. I was just confused, and then you don't know what true, what not true, because you're hearing it through your sisters, brothers, and then you're afraid to hear it from the source, from you or Toya, because then you really might get it. And I'm not sure if I can handle that, so I'll just wait to hear from somebody else. So that,
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. It was a traumatic experience for me. Essentially it was a breakdown in circulation in blood getting to the brain, and the oxygen associated with that, loss of oxygen. So I think the way I understood it was that it affected my cognitive skills. I think some strokes, or when you lose oxygen, it could affect your mobility, it could affect different bodily functions. I think one was my ability to make sense of what I was noticing or what I was seeing.
okay.
And so it occurred very incrementally in terms of realizing that something is not making sense, that you're seeing something but it's not. So you would see someone and you not, like almost not recognizing them. I think that was one incident that Josiane talked about, or some, yeah. So that was the experience. It's difficult to talk about this as the observer when I was also the victim. So it's hard to observe yourself, if you know what I'm saying. But eventually I was taken to a neurologist, and that assessment was made with regard to the loss of oxygen. I did a CAT scan of the brain and so on, and they could see where there was that damage to the circulation. But thankfully, there was no residual trauma. They could see the scars where there was the loss, but no legacy injury, as it would. And so I spent about 10 days in an assisted care facility. And then shortly after the beginning of that period, things began to make sense. My cognitive ability came back. So it came and went in that sense. And since then, I have been cautioned to manage the oxygen flow to my brain principally. And the doctor was telling me that there are two main detractors or two main impediments to that oxygen flow. One is smoking. That when you smoke, the carcinogens and the carbon monoxide and so on in the cigarette reduces your blood's ability to absorb oxygen. So the blood that is getting to your brain is like deficient in oxygen. It's not a full supply. So if I could refrain from doing that, it would allow for your blood to absorb more oxygen and for your brain to get a better supply. And I could tell the difference because I smoke quite much less than I did before. I shouldn't be smoking at all, but I noticed that how that loss of oxygen feels. And the other one is alcohol too, to reduce the consumption of alcohol, because that also interferes with the blood's ability to absorb oxygen.
Thins your blood. I think.
That one is manageable. There's no habit around that. The cigarette smoking is definitely a habit.
A challenge.
Yeah, more of a challenge. So I'm sorry to have put you through that anxiety and so on. It was very challenging for me as well. And,
we didn't do it on purpose. So
yes,
I just remember kind of getting the news, and I get a phone call, and my sister is very, I don't know, dramatic as he would, but whatever the word is, she kind of broke the news to me, and I was obviously in shock, and I was just like, I can't make sense of it because I know you to be top of the line in everything, and I was like, this is not making sense, and but she wouldn't call me for no reason, so I kind of just hung up the phone like instant, like right after. I don't do well with like bad news or like whatever like that. So even with good relationships like you and I or whoever, even like we don't speak that often, partially on purpose because I don't want to have that feeling of like missing you or missing home or kind of like what was the phrase? Don't
out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. Right. So I kind of use that a bit in my life just because I don't want to get into those emotions and all that. And hopefully it's not taken in offense because it's not. It's just
No, I am a bit like that. So I don't. It doesn't show up for me as I don't take it personally.
Well, I definitely value when we do speak, and it should be more often. Like I think right now it's like once a month.
Yes.
If we're lucky, I think that we could shorten that time frame, that time span. And so.
Yeah, I would love that. I don't know that I'm good at small talk, just talking to say that you have spoken to someone. Some people do that fairly well. But I think speaking to someone intentionally is very good. Genuinely finding out how they're doing, genuinely finding out what is the future that is in front of them, finding out what they are declaring as their for success, not what resolutions they're making, but at the end of some period, if it's the quarter or whatever it is, what would you declare success at the end of that quarter or at the end of the year? I find that is helpful. And if you have milestones working backwards from that end date, so if it's a quarter, so you know what would excite you at the end of month 3. And then what would happen at the end of month 2 that would tell you that you're on the right track, and then what would be happening on month 1. And that way, if you have a record of that, then a conversation with the person at the end of month 1, kind of finding out how they are measuring it, they're on track and so on.
Yeah.
I like those conversations. So we could do something like that if you want, to have some declarations, like what you're up to, we just started a year, so you could tell me what you're up to for the end of 2025. What would have inspired you? What would be what would give you a sense of fulfillment at the end of this year? What would have happened if you could imagine yourself fulfilled? And then, as I say, working backwards at the end of October, what would have happened and at the end of June and so on. So we could.
It's funny hearing that, like, because this is not the first time I'm hearing this. We've had this kind of conversation off mic before. So that's sometimes how I talk to people, like my friends, like, what are your plans, and where do you see yourself in 3 months, and what would that look like if you take a step back? And their response is always why you want to know that? Like, why you want to know so much? I'm like, oh, it's just a question I was asking. But I could hear, like, for somebody else, it's like, that's too much. Like, all they want to know is, what are you doing today? Like, what are you doing next week? So it's a kind of, I guess you would say, mature conversation to have. But like I said, meaningful. And I'm interested, because if we're friends for years now, I would like to know what's your plan?
And I think that today has consequences and tomorrow has consequences. So simply to ask somebody what they're up to tomorrow, and they're not conscious as to what that would lead to, is a kind of unexamined way to live your life, just to be living it. Yes, you could only live it day by day. Yes, you could only live it moment by moment. But each moment has consequences, so that you want to make sure that this moment that you're prepared for this moment, that if you are wanting to be healthy, and I mention health because I find that health is one of the things that people treat very lightly. They don't realize that when you are not healthy, nothing else matters. If you are sick, until you could repair that loss, until you could improve your well-being, money doesn't matter, work doesn't matter, relationships don't matter.
If you're not good,
So if you look at something like your health, I'm saying that if your health excites you, if being healthy means something to you, then what you're eating today and what you're eating tomorrow has consequences with regard to your health. So I don't think it's being too inquisitive to have a plan for eating that will enhance the likelihood of your being healthy or being successful in maintaining your well-being, So it may sound involved, but how you'll know what to eat if you don't address your concerns about being healthy, and so I think that all human beings have concerns, have things that matter to them, and if you don't identify what those things are and make sure that your actions are on the right trajectory or leading towards addressing those concerns, then you're playing with trouble, because something is going to happen sooner or later that will make you conscious and force you to pay attention. If you want to do better in your job and you don't work backwards from that and see that you need to be certified or you need to be educated or you need to be trained, and you just go along but wanting to do better in your job, but your actions on a moment by moment and day by day basis are not leading to your being more skilled or more certified, then don't be surprised if you don't do better in your job, because you're not doing anything to improve that situation. So at least that's how I look at it, So I agree with you that people may find that tedious, planning their lives or kind of paying attention to their behavior or their habits. They prefer to live in that kind of what I would call ignorance, you know, and but you could only
Did
be,
that for so long.
yeah, ignorance has consequences, you know. If you behave foolishly, don't be surprised, you know, if you get into trouble sooner or later.
Okay. To close that topic, as I was listening, when you had to go to the hospital, you had to see these neurologists and so on.
Yeah.
Were you confident in their skills? Because they always hear, well, I always imagine that we don't have, or Trinidad or islands don't have as much resources or as much skilled jobs as outside, as the US or as England. So were you confident in what they could do or how, or the results that they could produce?
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that narrative that we are foolish people, you know, as a country. I think that our healthcare is world class in terms of the skills and the equipment and the technology that we use. We proved that during the pandemic and so on, that our performance matched the global standards, you know. And we have proved it in industry and oil and gas. We have world class performances in petrochemicals and so on. Our scholars have distinguished themselves in all spheres globally, you know. Our athletes, you know, have won gold medals, not as often as we would like, but we have had at least 2 Olympic gold medalists and so on. So no, I was never in doubt about the excellence of our healthcare professionals. And I have always considered it a privilege to be in a country and in an environment where those skill sets and those technologies are available. I think of, you know, other countries where that isn't available. So I was confident. I wasn't happy that I was putting it to the test. You know, I wish I was healthy, but no, I wasn't concerned. And having said that, I would like to get another opinion, you know, to go to North America when I am fully recovered, you know, and to get an assessment up there. But for the moment, and at that time and now, I feel that the expertise is available locally. Yeah.
Fair enough. So over the years, we've had, I don't say ups and downs, but we've had times where we had different opinions about the same topic. And sometimes I would have been, I'm not talking about from 12 to now, so the last 15 years. I would always be, one feeling could be fear, like you're fearful of having a conversation, or you're scared, or you're, and then sometimes you're excited to talk about this, I'm excited to tell you something. So the general question is, what are some comfortable and uncomfortable conversations, and why do you think that is? Why would that topic or conversation be comfortable to have with your parent? And then similarly, why is another topic uncomfortable? If you guys have a good relationship, as we've always had. I've never been distanced from you on that level. So why would someone feel... We'll start with the easy one. We'll start with comfortable conversations. Off the top of my head, I can think of three. Think sports. Sports is a comfortable conversation. So the simple fact is, it's something relatable, something that I know, that I love, you love. I've grown up watching it with you, by myself. So that's just one thing that, whether we agree or disagree, it's something that we enjoy. So I think that is one comfortable conversation that is, I think, transcends all relationships. Yeah. What do you think?
I thought you...
Give me all three? No, you give me one.
In terms of a comfortable one?
Yeah.
Well, I would say your education. I have always known education to be the ticket to someone's growth and development and happiness. I think foolishness doesn't get you very far. Ignorance doesn't get you very far. Yeah. So I have always been comfortable and confident in standing for your education and for my own as well. You know, I could talk about my own experience and how getting an education and getting certified, being a professional as I was as an accountant and so on, how that profited me and how it allowed me to be of service to others, to my community, to be of service to industry, to serve internationally. You know, I've been privileged to work in North America and in Canada, you know, United States, Canada, and England, and so on. So I have always been a stand for your being educated and being certified. Yeah. And so I enjoy talking to you about that. And I get very anxious when you are not giving it that priority, or if you are. And it's interesting that you talk about sport, that there have been times when I thought you were placing a higher priority on sport than on being academically certified and so on, you know. So, but this whole question of comfortable and uncomfortable conversations, I think, points to the fact that there is no playbook for parenting. You know, parenting is a unique relationship as far as I am concerned. On the one hand, you are required to nurture a child. There are times, you know, starting from the beginning, when a child is unable to take care of itself, and therefore and a parent or guardian is required to step in the breach to ensure that that child is nurtured and cared for. And in our case, I mean, that was literally the case when mommy passed away. You were 4 years old and so on. So I had to stand in that breach. But there's no playbook. There's no script. So you, on the one hand, you don't want to own the child. The child is a unique human being, and you want the child to grow and develop as God intended them to be. But at the same time, you have to take responsibility for that growth and development and that education and values that the child develops and who the child associates with, their relationships and so on, because you are not the only influencer. So I think that is where the discomfort is, to strike a balance between giving the child some freedom and some autonomy and allow them to uniquely fulfill their own destiny and their own dreams, fulfill their dreams. And on the other hand, to ensure that they are not put at undue risk and that their development is keeping pace with their actions. You know, one of the things I find that makes it difficult for children is that they want to undertake activities that they are not sufficiently developed for. Their brains are not fully developed. They can't think properly. They can't contextualize things. Their thinking is very literal. You remember we use the cliche, out of sight, out of mind. So as part of your development early on, you could only deal with what is in front of you. And what is not in front of you doesn't exist. But that is not true. You know,
the parent sees that. The parent has a kind of oversight of what could happen.
Right. Exactly. They have the experience. So they have seen people burnt. They have seen what fire does to people. So if they see you going near the fire, you won't see the consequences of being burned. But I've seen the consequences of people being burned. So I would want to caution you not to go too close to the fire. So there's that, striking that balance. How do you allow the child to feel the heat, or to be in the kitchen, but not to get burnt, you know?
So side note, why? When my ex and I were having problems years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I would call you like, yo, pops, what to do? They're not making too much sense right now. And this was like 5, 6 years into the relationship, and I was starting to get a little rocky. I said, I'm gonna call somebody with some experience, and so we would always talk. And I was always like looking for an answer. And he would never give me one. It would always be like, well, you know, something. And I was like, so what should I do? I just give you the facts of the last 4 days. What do you think I should do? And it's like, I wouldn't say do what's right for you. I forget what you say, but it wasn't like do this, trust me, this makes sense. It was always like a figure it out. Like, you you're not dumb, so figure it out. And
Yeah.
I was like, you could just tell me what to do, you know. But I never got that. But anyway, I
Yeah.
finally figured, years later.
Yeah, learn the hard way.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I could have solved that problem
Yes.
a little bit earlier.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a challenge that I have with Latoya sometimes. To coach someone, the person has to be a request for coaching.
I call it.
Yeah, but you didn't say that I want you to coach me. You would just call me and tell me some set of circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But you would probably have some answers that you are in the midst of deploying and so on. So it's like, it's either you are right about what you're doing and the other person is wrong about what they're doing, but you are not saying that I need help. You're not saying that I am at my wit's end. You're not saying that I don't know what I don't know, and could you kind of create a new possibility for me or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know those sounds like complicated terms, but the bottom line is that because I have been trained in coaching, and I know that if someone isn't a demand for coaching or doesn't request coaching, then what you end up providing that person with is advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no commitment to giving anybody any advice. So,
Well, I think I wanted some advice.
yeah, no, you came to the wrong person.
All right.
I am good at coaching, but I'm not good at advising people. Because advice means that you know what to do, and I telling you that what you're doing is the wrong thing or something like that. You know, I don't know. I don't even know what advice is, but I know it's useless.
That's not true.
Advice is not useless.
I can give somebody advice. I see what's going on, and I advise based on my experiences that they should take this left.
Yeah, if you request my advice, and that is what coaching is. If you request that, look, I have tried what I know to work.
Mm-hmm.
I have deployed the answers that I felt would be effective, and they have not worked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
You know, can you, whatever language you would use, create a new possibility for me? Can you, whatever, can you elevate my performance? Because my intention is to be a gold medalist.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, my behavior is pointing at silver or bronze. Or I'm not even seeing myself on the rostrum.
Yeah.
So, but you have to tell me that. You can't tell me that you want to be a gold medalist and you know what to do, you know, and you read somewhere that coming home 4 o'clock in the morning helps you to be a gold medalist. So, then if that's what you quote unquote believe, my telling you to come home 2 hours earlier to get more rest or to improve your nutrition, that is what advice sounds like, because you know that you have the answer. It's just, you know. So anyway, so that may have been the breakdown there.
Okay.
That you never declared, you were never demand for help or coaching, or you never said that you didn't know what to do. Yeah. You always knew what to do, and you knew what the problem was, and you knew what the answer was. What the hell would I tell you if you know that kind of way? So anyway, that is behind us, but going forward, anytime you don't, and this comes back to the question of what would inspire you and what would move you. If you could tell me up front what would inspire you, and what your milestones are, what your goals are, what your targets are, then you and I could have a very informed conversation about whether you are hitting those targets or not. And if you're not, then you would tell me that you need some. You could use the word advice. I don't want us to get hung up on words, but you want to be coached on how to be more reliable in hitting your targets, because you find you're missing your targets consistently or something like that. And that is a walk in the park for me to do, you know. But
be more clear in my requests,
yes, and be willing to wipe the slate clean. I was telling, I don't want to call people's names, but I was telling a good friend from Cureb that over the weekend. He was kind of hinting and alluding that he was having some problems with the property and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not asking for help. He's just kind of telling me his circumstances.
Right.
We want advice.
Right.
It come back to the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want help, if you have tried what you know and you find it's taking too long or it's not giving you the results, tell me that, and then I could help you accelerate or improve your momentum. Or you have to tell me what it is that you want to change.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the key parts about coaching. There must be some situation that you want to change and you don't know how to change it.
Okay.
Okay. That's clear on what I'm saying, right? That's helpful?
Yeah, that makes sense. You just had a... Yeah. I think we said 3. You said sports, education. Another thing I remember about the education. But you said that...
Oh, you mean... Sorry, go ahead. You finish. You're talking about your goals? You're talking about your... Sorry. You can...
No, we were going on the list of comfortable conversations.
Uh-huh.
Comfortable topics. So we said sports, education.
Yeah, career. Yeah, so all of the things that I know are of inevitable concern to people.
Mm-hmm. Would be comfortable.
Yes. And the discomfort, as I say, is striking that balance between allowing for your full self-expression and your uniqueness, with balancing that with your development and your education and your willingness to learn and so on. You know, so that makes me uncomfortable. A simple thing like integrity, for example, which I know is fundamental to success.
Yeah.
How do you enroll another person, and we're talking about a child, in taking that on as a life principle of living your life with integrity? You know, I find that something like that is very challenging, that because that's something that somebody has to like be enrolled in. Like, they want to be straight, they want to be their word, they want to honor their word and so on. It's hard to make somebody honor their word, you know, like
yeah, but they have to have a strong base. I think it's easier if they have a base or a good upbringing, like where you're taught, or it's just in you not to tell lies, not to go behind people's back, to be on time. Like, those things, as you grow, like coming up, if you're steady in those things, it's easier then to say integrity has a part 2, a part 3, where you could really evolve. But I think the challenge is where if you do have those things, if as a child he was always lying, he was always sneaking out of the house, then it becomes, it's like, wait, where do I start? So
I think you're right, except that integrity stands alone. Integrity is something like gravity, so it doesn't go away. If you know, it expresses itself in different ways, and so if you climb a ladder and you don't hold on, you will fall off, and so on. So you always have to be paying attention to gravity. Gravity has nothing to do with age. Like, when I was a child, I used to be serious about gravity, but now I'm a big man. I don't want to bother with that. I go for gravity. Okay? So integrity is something like that. You can't say that I have always been somebody of integrity, so now I could kind of go easy and I could...
Yeah, no, but challenges come in life where it tests your integrity.
Right. And if I see you not honoring your word, or if I see you being duplicitous, or, you know, or telling people things that you think will avoid any conflict, but almost as you're saying it, you know you're going to be doing something else. That makes me uncomfortable. That makes me nervous, because you're not honoring your word then, and you're not aware that you're not honoring your word. You know, you're kind of playing fast and loose with your word. You're doing it just to quiet the person. You don't want them to get hyper, or you don't want them to misbehave. Drama. So you tell them something that would calm them down. But it's not the truth. It's not, you know. So those conversations, and I don't know that you have declared yourself to be somebody who would honor your word. I think you're willing to, but sometimes, I think you do things like any other human being. I'm not saying like something is wrong with you, but many people do things on a cost-benefit analysis. If they will, if it's not worth it, then why bother? If I could cut a corner here and nobody's looking, and so on. So I think those, coming back to the question of uncomfortable conversations, I think if we could have conversations to lay that kind of groundwork, it would make life a lot easier. We could be talking from the same reality, and I don't have to be pointing out where gravity could work against your point. You don't know how, you can't see that there's a change in level here, or you can't, and so on.
Yeah, I see that.
So, you mentioned something about 2 cents, about your 2 cents worth. I don't know, you okay with that now? About
I was just curious. You had said it days ago, and I was just wondering where that come from.
Yeah, it's this smallness. Sometimes I find I can't remember sorry, you're not finished. You were going to say something?
No, that's where the thought came from in our conversation prior.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, where'd that come from? It was just a thought.
Yeah, sometimes I hear you talk, and you talk as though you're small. Like this, like you think that there are a lot of people that are bigger than you. And that annoys the shit out of me, that you don't recognize your own worth, your own value.
Yeah. Like
that you have a voice. And that smallness, that selling yourself short, I find could be a limiting factor when you come to setting your goals and so on. I want you to know that you're not small, and that and that is more. It's a kind of mind game, you just, at one time you were small, at one time, but I don't think you're small again.
Yeah.
So you want to express yourself. Listen, I'm not saying you have to suck all the oxygen out of the room, but I would like you to express yourself more. So that's where that 2 cents came from.
I could see that in the past. Just thinking I can't do it for whatever reason. I've gotten better. I think I've become more bold. Maybe that comes with age or experience or whatever. Became more bold in decision making or setting goals. The first time I remember like jumping out the window with some idea was when I came back to Trinidad the first time, 2015, 16. I had this idea of running a league up at King George. Well, when King George was King George.
Yes.
Everybody playing there every day, ting. And I was like, dog, I could set up a league. Like I know, because I did it in the States before. Well, in the States we had not a pro league, but we had 10 teams with people from all over, and me and 2 guys ran it. And I was so when I came back, I was like, I could do the same thing here. Like, why not? So I started talking to the guys, and they were like, of course, we want to kind of put some more structure to it. I was like, all right, cool. And then I started talking to like the venue, like the King George venue. And they were like, nah, you need permission, you need slips, you need permission from wherever, from 5 different places. And somewhere along the line, I just got kind of discouraged. Like, all right, whatever. Because to me, it's a public park. We pay money, pay $5 per person on here, organized. And then when they started throwing these obstacles, I was like, all right, forget it. And that's where they kind of too small. Like, I had to talk to the governor. I had to talk to who?
Mayor or something.
Yeah. I was like, all right, cool, we'll see. And so that happened. So things like that is where this feeling small comes in.
Yes.
But I think the true winners or the true bosses in life kind of fight through those obstacles and figure out a way.
Yes.
I think if you stop at every stop sign, every
obstacle,
then it's like, then you wouldn't reach as far.
Yeah.
And so since then I've started to like just push through. Like when I see something, don't see it as a end. See, just
Yes.
as a hump, as a
Yeah,
bump in the
a
road.
bump in the road.
bump in
Yeah,
the road.
yeah, yeah. Sleeping policeman. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever see this? You ever sleeping policeman before?
In Trinidad, yeah, they have a few.
I never see that.
Yeah.
One.
Prime Minister said they close up the station in the night so the criminals won't even come.
We'll go one more. We'll go one
Yeah.
more. Oh, about the education. Secret.
Yes.
Unknown fact. Unknown
Yeah.
story.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I was in school, where I went to school? I was gonna say Albany. And
Maryland?
yeah, upstate.
Oh, yeah.
Cumberland.
Yes.
Yes, I was going to school up there. I mean, you guys were paying for it. It was part scholarship, but
Right.
you guys were paying for most of it.
Right.
And I was working hard, trying hard. I was trying to get on the basketball team there, plus school, and so on and so forth. And at some point, money got tight. And so us as the basketball team, whatever, just kind of hustling for food, everything.
Okay.
And people getting money sent to them often, once a month, whatever.
Yes.
And my money started to slow up.
Okay.
For one reason or the other.
Okay.
So I started thinking of ways to get some money, whether it's to buy and sell snacks or whatever. Different ways.
Yeah.
And at some point, we came up with this bright idea to thief a laptop, to steal a laptop,
Yes.
because that's more money than selling snacks.
Yeah.
So we decided to steal a laptop, and then you could sell that for rent money or whatever. Anyway, so we ended up doing, long story short, we ended up doing that. But, so after that happened, I came back, and we spoke probably not too often, once every 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the distance and so on. But I'll speak to Ayana, I'll speak to everybody. And then one day, so I came back home, and we got in trouble and then we got catch, because we stole the laptop from the son of a policeman.
Mm-hmm.
So they went the extra mile to find out what really went on. So that was our luck for that one. Anyway, so I went back home. I went back to the dorm. I said, let me check my emails. Let me find out what's going on. I got email. So for example, this happened on a Friday. So I reached home, whatever, to Saturday, Sunday. I got email from Daddy. The email was sent on...
From me?
Yeah, from me. Sent on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously I didn't read it. I'm not reading it. Just say it was sent on Tuesday. Son, don't worry. I know things a little tough, a little hard. Stick it through. XYZ. Don't feel down, don't feel discouraged. Everything will work out. I said, oh, if I had read that the day before, if I had read that when it's sent, I would never do that. Okay, why? From now on, I check my emails every day.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that. That was experience, and since then, well, I've been finding more ways to be successful and stay on track.
Yeah. And the real discovery for me in that conversation, and it's funny that you had said at the beginning, one of your goals in this was to find out something that you never knew, or something like that. I am thrilled that you are owning up to that misdemeanor, that infraction, that you did steal the item, because I always suspected that you did, but you never told me that you did. In fact, you denied that you did, and it was the other guys that were involved, and that worried me. That not taking responsibility and not admitting that you're doing foolishness. This is why I talk about advice. How could I advise you not to do something like that? You know, if you don't tell me that you did something wrong, if you're denying that you did something wrong, then.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. And and that comes from the smallness too, that you don't need to take other people's stuff, to survive.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Excellent.
All right, well, that will do it for today's episode, the first episode of Conversations with My Dad. Yeah. And hopefully there'll be a part 2 to infinity. And we'll go from there. Thanks, Dad, for being part of this. I know it was, hey, first time for everything, all right?
Yeah, you're welcome. And I never knew it would be so magical. but there's
Magic is real.
magic is real,
That's
is
something
majestic. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks everybody involved, Toya, us, Andy, everybody that makes this story possible. All my sisters, brothers, all the siblings that kind of made me who I am. And I think, of course, Dad has everything to do with that. Or some of it, not the bad parts, the good parts. And yeah, so it's all love, and we will talk again soon. Love you.
Love you too. Look forward to it. Yeah, man.
Good.
I forgot you on camera. I wanted to hug you, yes, and then no anybody would see.
Yeah, well, the camera's still rolling. The edit can happen. Yes. Thanks a lot.